Hey guys, coming at you with a recap and update video on the Blue Meanie 1991 Jeep Wrangler YJ V8 swap project. If you guys didn't watch the last real short video, go check it out. That's basically just a recap of the break-in process and some idle videos after that. The engine's running good. I started it up today. It runs great. There is one issue being that these headers that I have on it are circle port headers and the heads are square port heads. So you can hear in the video there's a huge exhaust leak, a little tapping noise. That's not the valve train or anything, that's just the exhaust leak because obviously the heads don't match the headers and I just have cheapo gaskets on there that are probably already burnt out again. So I have to get basically I have to redo my exhaust. I'm going to get Summit ram horn manifolds to go on it because that's pretty much the only option that I could find for square port heads that wasn't like cast iron manifolds. So I'm going to get ram horn manifolds that basically just come out and go straight down, and then I'm going to get down pipes for it to go 90 degrees back. But yeah, I got my brake booster off because I'm not going to be using the factory one. I'm going to get a new one. Got my Holley air cleaner on. Fits, doesn't have any issues with the throttle linkage or anything. I'm really happy about that. And it sits good in the engine bay. Speaking of the engine sitting good, when I initially put it together, it was tilted back really far and we were having issues with oil leaking out of the engine during the break-in from the back of the intake manifold. That's partially because that China wall probably isn't fully sealed, and the other reason for that is just the severe backward tilt of the engine. So I'll try to get a shot of it, but you can see I have a 2-inch spacer underneath the transmission mount to jack the back of the transmission up, which in turn picks the engine up a little bit. So now the engine is only slightly tilted back, which is pretty much what you want. I have a rad hose on it that was a pain in the butt to get, and then to find one that would fit and then actually get it because AutoZone employees are idiots. I had looked on the AutoZone website to try and find something that looked like it would fit. I found this one. I called an AutoZone that said it had 2 in stock. They said, "Oh no, we don't have it in stock." And then I called another one that said it had it in stock, and they had me on hold for 20 minutes while they quote unquote went and looked for it. And then I just hung up on them. Never got a call back. I called a third one that was actually the closest AutoZone to me, and they said, "Oh, they had me on hold for 5 minutes. They came back. Oh yeah, we found it." And on their website, it doesn't list the inner diameters or anything. So I was like, "Oh, could you check the inner diameter for me?" And the AutoZone guy said, "No, we can't do that." I was like, "You can't measure from here to here with a tape measure on the inside?" He said, "No, we're not. We can't do that." I was like, "Okay, well then I'll come check it myself." And so I drove all the way over there. I found it fits. So I bought it. I got it home, but it was just a real pain in the ass. Another thing that we had an issue with was this AC Delco Gold battery that I bought. Initially, as soon as I hooked it up to the car, you could hear a little bubbling from the inside, and then when we broke in the car, it was actually leaking battery acid out of it, which was a shock. So I bought it off Amazon. I went to the page, and Amazon was like, "No, you can't return that through us. You have to call the company you bought it off of." I called the company I bought it off of, and I went straight to voicemail. I left them a message. They still haven't called me back, and that's been like a week. So modern day problems buying car parts from idiots and crappy companies with no customer service at all. So luckily though, I've used this battery a few times since then, and it's fine. It's not leaking battery acid out anymore. I don't know if it was just overfilled when they made it or whatever, but it's fine now. I did check because that's also a cheapo alternator from Amazon. I did check, and it is at 14.6 volts when it's running. So it's not like the alternator is bad and overcharging, which is really good. What else? got the engine full of coolant. You can see I have a custom overflow bottle there, just so that it has something to purge the coolant into and then suck it back in when it's done. Really happy with how that turned out. See, I got a couple extra stickers on the hood. Today I put my old windshield gasket on and put the wiper motor on, hooked it up to the linkage. It's all good to go. I just need to get wiper arms and wiper blades for it, because the wiper arms I have are here. I have them here. These are the original ones that I made a really crappy spray paint job on, and they did not turn out good at all. So I'm just going to buy new ones because they're really cheap. So that's that. Take a look on the inside. There's my tack with the shift light. That's all hooked up, works. Engine idles at like 750 RPM right now. Got all my gauges hooked up. And then this was the big thing. When we were doing the break-in, we had to hot wire the coil, because the coil and starter both get power from the PCM, and the PCM isn't working because I guess it's not detecting. I guess it's showing that, well, the injectors aren't hooked up or whatever, so it's not sending power to that, and it's not letting the engine start or run. So I had to, we had to hot wire the engine basically, and then use a little jumper wire for the starter relay to get it to start and run. Obviously that's not going to work out in the long term, so I have this key that does the main car power, and then that key and a generic Dorman key switch does the ignition and the starter, so that works. I can see my throttle string. Still need to get a throttle cable for it. Coming back here, I got I was snooping around the house on the outside today, and in our overhang outside storage area under our house, I found these 295 5015s. They're date coded 2017. They were my brother's. He gave them to me. So I'm going to be running these for the back tires. Obviously not on these rims. These rims are not staying on the car. They stick out pretty much almost entirely outside of the wheelhouse. I'm going to be running either 15x9 or 15x10 Chevy Rally steel wheels, like on an early C3 Corvette. I found on Amazon. Again, I know I should stop, but I'm not going to. I found they sell those steel wheels with dual bolt patterns, so I can run the same steel wheels on the rear and the front. So I'm going to have 15x9 or 10s in the back, and then 15x7s in the front. As far as the rest of the car is concerned, nothing much has really changed. I've just been coming out every day or every time I'm home, and the weather's nice, I'll push it out, start it up, let it run for a little bit. I really need to get those manifolds for it, but otherwise it's not a huge deal. Like I said, the engine runs really good. There's no terrible noises coming from it. We still need to tune it. I don't have the vacuum advance hooked up or anything, but it starts up fine. The electric choke, it works. It does puff a little smoke out when you rev it, but I think that's just the rings not being fully seated since it's a fresh rebuild. At least that's what I'm hoping. And I did put my Rugged Ridge grill inserts back in today because I had nicked one of the grill bars, so I just put those in to cover that up, and I think they look pretty cool. Yeah, as far as what else the car needs, I got my gas adjust shocks on the front. They're very nice. They're stiff. I had bought ones for the back, and I had shock tabs to weld on the rear end, but I ended up finding out that I have these leaf spring plates with shock tabs on them. And if I got, obviously the normal shocks wouldn't fit, they're too short, so I'm going to get like 2.5-inch lift shocks to put on that. And then, I forget if I went over this, but I have my slapper bars installed on the rear end. Kind of cool look. They're a little low, but I can't imagine I'll be flying over speed bumps in this thing anyway. And then, one more thing is I got my track bar mounted on the front to give it some more rigidity in the front end. I'm also going to be getting a sway bar for the front. I had the factory sway bar for this, but I don't know where it went. I probably threw it out, unfortunately, but I have to get a new sway bar and links and bushings and everything to put that back in. Again, taller rear shocks. Unfortunately, I can't get gas adjusts for the rear, so I'm either going to be running mismatched shocks, or I'll just have to get the same brand shocks for the front as I have for the rear. But brake wise, I need to get pretty much everything. I need to get Dorman makes a line kit for this that's like $120 for all the lines for the car, so I have to get that. I have to get a brake booster, brake master cylinder, proportioning valve, lines or hoses for the front and rear. I have to get the drums, hardware, and wheel cylinders for the rear, and discs and calipers and rotors, or discs, pads and calipers for the front. And then that'll be everything for the brakes. For the transmission, I have to get a drive shaft made. I just made the measurements for that today, so I'll be able to get a drive shaft made at some point. And then once that's made and I have it installed, I can put my torque converter that's over there into the transmission, put it back to the engine, hook the torque converter up, hook up cooling lines for I'm going to run an auxiliary cooler, probably under the passenger side floor pan with a little electric fan on it. That's pretty much the easiest route. I would run the lines to the radiator, but that way I just keep my transmission cooler instead of having it be just as hot as the engine is. Then I have to get a shifter, and if I so choose, a kickdown switch to put on the gas pedal, since it's electronic kickdown on the Turbo 400. And then I have to get the vacuum line for the vacuum modulator on the transmission, and a speedometer cable. That's the other big thing. Then for the fuel system, I have to get a 15-gallon fuel tank and skid plate and sending unit, and then just going to run it to the regulator going to the engine. It's not going to be a return or anything. And then filler neck and gas cap and everything. Then I can hook then the fuel system's done, brake system is going to be done, suspension is going to be done, wheels and tires, and that'll pretty much be it. There's not, in the grand scheme of things, there's not really a whole lot left to get on this thing. If I had to put a price on the rest of the stuff for this car, I'd say it's probably $3 or $4 grand worth of parts, if that. And then after that, it'll just be putting this thing around town, getting the break-in miles done, and then being able to drive it, really. One more thing, steering. I'm going to get a manual steering box, steering shaft, and pitman arm, and then I can hook my steering linkage back up. But yeah, that's just about everything. I'm sure there's probably something I'm missing, but for the most part, that's pretty much everything. Yeah, it's not a whole lot. Really, I'm really stoked about it. Really happy that I'm probably going to meet my deadline of wanting to be able to drive it this summer. well, I'm definitely going to be able to drive it this summer. As far as how early in the summer it's done and driving is up for debate, but I'll probably have it done by June if I had to guess, or at least I'll have it driving by June. I have to get a top for it too. That's going to be another big money thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I'll catch you guys in the next video. The next video will, if it's about this car, it'll probably be another update where I have the manifolds on. But yeah, see ya.